Welcome, everybody, to Week 15 of the 4for4 DFS MVP podcast. I'm your host, John Breslin. You may know me as Squirrel Patrol, joined by Davis Maddock, Pat Crane. Bye weeks are over in the NFL, but not for the DFS 4for4 MVP podcast, as Neil Orfield is on a bye this week. We have 13 games in the NFL on the slate, but before we get to that, it's playoff best ball playoff season. How is best ball looking?
Could be better. Could be better. Kyle Pitts with the fourth highest tight end fantasy score in the history of the NFL. He is the first tight end since Kellen Winslow, not Kellen Winslow Jr., Kellen Winslow Sr. in 1983 to have generated 160 or more yards and 3 or more touchdowns in a game. But this morning, John, I am not tilting what everyone else is tilting in that game, because I'm tilting basically the most run bad I've ever had in a dynasty fantasy football trade in my life. Corain and I are in the dynasty league together. It's week 8. The Jacksonville Jaguars are in London playing, so the slate starts at 9:30. So we got to get this trade done. We do not get this trade done.
Davis is a contender. I had been a contender. It's kind of like it's time for me to go back, kind of retool. And so I'm trying to trade away some older guys to Davis.
And I'm trying to get as many points as possible, because if I don't win this year, I'm screwed, because I'm kind of out of picks. My roster's real old. We do this trade where I get Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, and Dylan Gabriel from Pat, and I give him a first-round pick. However, the Jacksonville Jaguars game had started, so the flotsam that I was going to trade Corain to make our rosters legal was Nick Mullins, who is the third.
Rosters always have to be 30 guys.
Have to be 30.
Yeah.
The game starts.
Player for player.
So the only useless player who doesn't play on my roster is Kirk Cousins. So I have to trade him Kirk Cousins.
This is a super flex best ball league. Where Cousins
there is basically a chance that our inability to have got that trade done by 9:30 a.m. Central Time cost me a league championship, because I traded away. It's like actually
doing nothing for me.
I would say frankly, it's maybe even more probable than not, because of how close Neil and I, because Neil, our normal fourth co-host, is a part of this as well. Neil is in first in this league. I'm in second. There's a very good chance that my inability to get that done made me lose a championship to Neil.
You got to pay attention to this 9:30 starts. It's early if you're not on the East Coast.
Yeah. There's only 1 week that you're allowed to trade in this league. It's like a trade window, which is kind of fun because it makes you, tune into the league and stuff. But it's also tough because it's not that long, so you don't have like time to hem and haw. So we got the deal done, but not early enough for it to really pay off, unfortunately.
Good idea to have a trade window, because so many people need that to get re-engaged.
This is Michael. So Michael Leone is the commissioner of these leagues, and that's basically his deal. He's like, no one pays attention. So if we force all the action into like 2 windows, these very busy people, like, Adam Levitan's in this league, like people who are way too busy.
Waivers are locked too. Like there's periods where the league comes to life during these, and then it's best ball. So
so it forces everyone to pay attention in these very small windows.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Cousins had the game he had. But
no thanks, buddy.
We're on to week 15. So we have 13 games on the DFS slate, and we have some pretty good games. Some pretty good NFL games, some pretty high totals. I think we have some injury news still to be determined as of Friday. I think the biggest piece of injury news is going to be Josh Jacobs. He was limited in practice today. So Emmanuel Wilson is sticking out there at 4,400 on DraftKings, is potentially going to be a major impact on the slate. We also have Marvin Harrison out. We have Brady Cook officially starting for the Jets, with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields out, Mason Taylor out, T. Higgins out. So T. Higgins probably opens up some Bengals wide receiver or tight end value. But we will start with the game.
And we have Phillip Rivers probably starting for the Colts, right? That's still looking like that's going to happen.
We do, and we have Phillip Rivers passing yard props. So
Phillip Rivers should be like 1K. Like they should be like, if you want to do this,
he's 4,900. He's 4,900.
That's way too much. Come on.
Yeah.
The passing yard prop is 151.5 that I am seeing on
51 and a half?
151. 151. So 5 yards less than Brady.
I must just like left the show and went money down.
No.
51.
151. So, and he's not the flat like quarterback price on DraftKings, which is interesting. There's got to be quarterbacks that are more expensive or that are less expensive.
It's crazy that he's not. Like, what is driving that? That makes no sense.
They probably just didn't want to be stuck. Like, make it look like they were stuck, right? Like that they're like, we're not going to make it like a free square.
They didn't want to make it look like they were flat-footed. That Phillip Rivers came back. Like we all were. What are you talking about? Come on, DK.
So yeah, he is. So there's a bunch of guys. There are like he's the same price as Tyler Shuck. We've got Shedeur Sanders, who had a big game, is $200 less. Cam Ward, 300.
That's actually that's the first time I've genuinely felt like someone's been disrespectful to Shedeur.
Yeah,
I'm one team. Don't disrespect Shedeur.
But yeah, so we've got some interesting storylines on this slate. Davis, we'll start with you. We'll look at the game environments. So like there's one big game environment that I think is standing out because it just got a massive total.
See, I think there's two. I think there's two. I think Cincinnati, Baltimore, given the condensation of the offenses, is just as good because T. Higgins is not going to play. So you basically have three playable guys on Cincinnati. You have Chase, you have Mitch Tinsley, and you have Mike Gesicki. And then on the Ravens, you have Henry, you have Flowers, and you have Andrews. And then if you're a giga slappy, you're going to say Isaiah Likely, even though every defining moment of Isaiah Likely's career is him messing up in the biggest possible moment. Like,
unlike Mark Andrews, can't think of any of those moments for him.
Mark Andrews is a literal record holder. I'm not having this. I'm not. Mark Andrews
conversions dropped in the playoffs. Is that what he's got?
No, he's made one mistake in his career. When you think of Isaiah Likely, what do you think of? Do you think of stepping out of bounds against the Chiefs?
I honestly think of him catching a touchdown in the back of the end zone. He may or may not be in bounds.
He wasn't in bounds. You think of the play against the Chiefs where he was not in bounds. And then, John, the other very interesting thing about that game is that very similar to the Eagles, where no one wants to admit that Barkley is just cooked, is that you should be more interested than average in the Ravens passing game because Henry is like, you could argue Barkley maybe is okay. Henry is like giga mega washed. Like it's like hard to watch. Like I think didn't he just have 25 rushes for 74 yards?
25. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's just like the guy because the old Henry play is, he's kind of like got his hand on the back of the offensive lineman. He finds the crease and then it's upfield and you can't catch him. Now he gets to the spot in the crease and is going upfield and then just immediately gets tackled. It's very hard to watch.
He's playing the Bengals, right?
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to play Derrick Henry this week, but like on average, I would be more interested. I would be more interested in like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, even Lamar 6,400 on DraftKings. Has he ever been that low before? Maybe as a rookie he was.
Yeah. All right. Pat, we'll go to you. Do you like the Cincinnati Baltimore game environment or the Rams?
I do. I have Jamar Chase is the cover boy on the walkthrough. I mean, literally every quarterback has gotten there against the Bengals since like week 3. And early in the season, like Joe Flacco wasn't very good with the Browns. And Lawrence had kind of a mediocre game against them. But like neither was absolutely terrible. And then there have been no bad games against them since, except for Lamar Jackson. So, I don't think I understand Lamar Jackson's not playing at his best right now, but it's like hard for me to believe he's just going to have like 2 stink bombs against this really, really bad defense. Trey Hendrickson's done.
I mean, he basically had a great game against the Ravens last time. Against the Bengals last time, his teammates were just conspiring against him. The Zay Flowers offensive pass interference, never seen a worse offensive pass interference call in my life. And then Isaiah Likely scores a 70-yard touchdown, but just fumbles the ball at the back of the end zone. Yeah, then Lamar had Mark Andrews wide open for a touchdown, and the Bengals defensive lineman just made a great play, just tipped it up in the air. And got it. Like I think if your memory of that game is Lamar sucked, I actually think he was kind of fine.
Even better, because I think this is a fun game environment. This is a game like both teams need. Like the Bengals are still technically live to make the playoffs,
They win this game and the Ravens beat the Steelers next time, the Bengals are in, basically.
No, the Steelers have to lose some additional games because of the Bills loss.
That's right. Okay.
I went over. The Athletic has a thing where you can like literally pick who loses each game. But like they need the Dolphins to beat the Steelers this week and stuff like that. But so it's really thin. But this is football, man. Like you play. If you've got a chance to make the playoffs, like these guys.
So if they just win out, if the Bengals win out, they're 29% in the Athletic playoffs. Them.
Yeah, so they need some other stuff to happen, including they need the Ravens to beat the Steelers after the Bengals beat the Ravens, and then they need the Steelers to lose at least one of these games they shouldn't lose, like to the Dolphins, and I forget who else they play. But anyway, this is a game like, this is probably not a play-in game in the sense that you could win it and still not make the playoffs, but they're going to treat it like that. So I like that game a lot. I like, obviously, the high total game we'll talk about, but I like the Bills Patriots. No surprise there. But I mean, this game has almost a 50-point total.
See, I kind of don't love that game.
Tell me why you don't love it.
I think it's going to be 11 degrees outside, and that's a big thing for the outdoor games this week. There's a cold snap all across the United States this week. We're going to have games with snow. We're going to have games where like guys are going to be dropping the ball because their hands are so cold. Like Cleveland, Chicago is negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. But specifically, I mean, we've seen this multiple times with the Bills and with the Patriots, where despite the superhuman abilities of their quarterbacks, they say, you know what we're going to do in this game? We're going to see what Ty Johnson can add in the mix, or let's just really let Ramondre get ahead of steam here. That's the only, not that it's a bad game, but I do think it's a category below for me.
The temperature is around freezing. 30 something
okay,
degrees.
So that's better than
that's not.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's December, man. Like whatever, and it's 10-mile-an-hour winds, chance for some snow showers. Like the weather here does not concern me at all.
Okay. I just was putting it in the category of all the other games. That's fine.
And the other thing that I like about this game is that I think the defense for the Patriots, like you want to talk about the schedule stuff, I kind of reject that when you look at May's season. May's actually played some tough defenses. When you want to talk about the Patriots record and their defense, yeah, there's a schedule narrative here that I think is real. I mean, their recent quarterbacks have been Spencer Rattler, who was actually pretty good against them, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Michael Penix, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, and Jackson Dart. So this defense has not been tested in a while, and Josh Allen was just fine against them the last time they played. And the run defense has actually gotten worse over the last few weeks. So, and they're down Milton Williams on defense, which is their best interior rusher. So this defense is not that good. It's not terrible, but I think, Josh Allen can, and we know the thing with Allen, if you push Allen, the Bills get better.
Yeah.
If the Bills do their typical game plan, they're worse than if they were on their back foot, because that means Josh Allen actually starts playing out of his mind and powers them to victory. So I think this could be another kind of like Josh Allen awakens from the slumber and just starts destroying the opposing defense type of game. And I think Drake May will be just fine here against a Buffalo pass defense that's also overrated. This has not been tested much because their run defense is so bad that people just run on them. But the Bengals, even with Burrow throwing, those two really costly picks last week, he was very efficient against this Bills pass defense and very consistent. They're just moving the ball up and down against the Bills through the air. And the Patriots had a positive pass rate over expected against the Bills the last time they played. So they're not afraid of this defense. They obviously won that game. I think this game is pretty fun as well. But, then we also have a 55-point total we got to talk about.
Yeah, so that's the Rams and Lions. I mean, I think that's my top game environment on the week. I do like, Cincinnati and Baltimore, pretty close. But I think you've got like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua. You've got Matthew Stafford chasing the MVP potentially. I think 35 touchdown passes so far this season. And then, you've got like Jahmyr Gibbs, if that's the way you want to go. Jameson Williams, like Detroit is becoming more concentrated, right? There's no Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then and the Rams really aren't using Kyron Williams like they used to. They're using Devontae Adams instead.
Yeah, so Devontae Adams is the goal line back.
Yeah, so I know. I think that's a great game environment, and it depending on the value, you could potentially like mix and match some pieces of this, right? Like you could potentially do like some pieces, a Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff with, Jamar Chase and like Derrick Henry or something like that. You can mix and match pieces from this game. So that might be the approach that I take. But actually, let me just throw this then also to some of the other like game environments that don't necessarily have high totals, but they have large spreads. Like I'm thinking about teams like San Francisco or Seattle that have like pretty high implied point totals, but they're just massive favorites. Is that a consideration for either of you? Like a Christian McCaffrey, obviously in consideration.
Yeah, this is like my favorite like pivot of the week. Like, cause you could do like Purdy Jennings and then play whoever you want with that. You could click Purdy Jennings optimize lineup, and that lineup probably like won't be duped in the SPY or whatever on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks should be quite successful here. The Colts have been this kind of shape-shifting defense because of their injuries. I didn't see if DeForest Buckner is he going to be back, because he was limited, so I was assuming he wasn't. But him being out has hurt their pass rush, and then obviously they lost Sauce Gardner, but Charvarius Ward is now on injured reserve again with another concussion. So this secondary has gone from like, oh, playoff secondary to like secondary you target. And so Jackson Smith and Jigba is obviously set up very, very well here. But the Seahawks were actually a little bit tilted to the pass last week relative to game script in a big win over the Falcons, which I think is, probably just like a little blip, but it's at least somewhat encouraging. The downside for the Seahawks is that they just run the ball nonstop here, which they probably can get away with. But if they pass the ball here, I think they'll be quite successful. So I like that one. One that maybe I wonder if you guys will be grossed out by it all. I kind of like the Texans offense in one of these.
Yeah, I am grossed out by that, because I think you could toss the Texans to a high school defense right now and they'd be like, sick, we're gonna win 21-3 when we're happy. We're happy to do it. Show
them the Texans defense if they think that, because they're not scoring 21.
Yeah. I like Nico is 6,700 on DraftKings, like insanely low, but we did see against the Chiefs last week, like the Texans offense is actually very bad. They had 5 straight 3-and-outs against the Chiefs last week.
Well, the Texans offense is not great. It has some weaknesses. One of those being the offensive line. And I don't really want to be going against Spags if I can't pass protect. Yeah. But I think I'm okay going against the Cardinals. That's a lot less concerning. So what I like about, we'll see if the Texans offense can deliver, but what I like about this, right, is that no one can push back against the Texans right now. The defense is too good. And neither can the Cardinals, but they can pass enough to keep the clock stopped a bunch of times. So they can kind of create maybe a couple additional possessions for the Texans, even if the Texans are running the ball. But Woody Marks, he's a good play with Chubb.
He's just going to be he's probably going to be the most owned running back of the slate.
I think it makes sense. 5,600, but you do
21
create
carries,
leverage off of that if you want to go Stroud Nico.
Depends on Emmanuel Wilson. If Emmanuel Wilson is starting.
And then, all right, and I know this one's really gross, but what do you guys think about the Chiefs this week?
Rice is like a jam, because everyone's going to be like, oh, dude, the Chiefs stink. They're eliminated. Have you ever seen a more obvious 24 fantasy point game than Rashee Rice this week?
I completely agree. I think Rice is a really strong play.
He basically had his normal game that he ever has last week. He just dropped every pass.
Don't love that, but
it's a big difference. That's a big caveat.
John, I said this show earlier. I think it was on I don't remember what show, but there's a stat that makes its round. Stats by Lopez tracks this. But if you create games by subset and location, no subset and location has a higher drop rate, both teams, than night games at Arrowhead. The drop rate in these games, like last 5 years, is like over 10%. Which is like it dwarfs every other environment, combination of nerves, cold, and that stuff. But it's really bad.
Are these Chiefs players or the other players?
Both. It's just a game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We've got a super chat, so we're gonna just address that. It sounds like season long. Needs 2 to 4 running backs and wide receiver. He's already starting Gibbs, Achan, and / right. But so it's full PPR. We need 2 out of Dowdle, Adunze, Pittman, and Vele. I think
Dowdle and
Adunze is probably
Vele.
not going to play.
Yeah, Dunze's
I
out.
don't think Adunze is going to play.
Yeah. So I think I'd definitely go. Well, so that's
do Dowdle. Like Dowdle's not. Just put him in the starting lineup and then figure out what the other. Like I think he's on a different class.
Yeah.
So it's Pittman or Vele.
I'd probably go Pittman, man.
I'd go Vele. I'm not doing anything with any Colt player this week.
Like Rivers is going to throw some very slow floating balls to someone, and it might as well be Michael Pittman.
It could. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be Pittman or Warren.
It'll be probably both, but like those two guys, I wouldn't be shocked if like not for DFS purposes, obviously, but for like squeezing out a start, I wouldn't be shocked if like Pittman was fine.
Yeah,
he just gets like 7 targets, catches 6 of them.
I'd officially go Dowdle and Pittman, but like I have big concerns about Pittman. But I think it can go the other way, right? Like
it'll be fine.
Yeah,
Rivers, dude.
He could get like 8 receptions for 40 yards or something.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Put up a fine score for full PPR.
That PPR, it matters. If this was standard, I'd have different ideas, I think.
Yeah. So let's move on to the quarterbacks, and Pat, we'll start with you. Just DFS wise, you were talking up the Texans offense. CJ Stroud's pretty well priced, but I kind of think that like Woody Marks is probably the Houston player that I want, or their defense. But what do you like at quarterback?
Yeah, Woody Marks is kind of the easy one, but I do like CJ Stroud. I think him and going to Nico Collins here. Nico Collins' profile is like still really good per route, and share of the offense stuff. So if the offense comes to life against like a really bad defense, one that we just saw Matthew Stafford light up, and an offense that just like passes the ball against everybody. They've done it against the Rams, Seahawks. Like they're gonna throw the ball here against an elite Texans defense in a way that's unusual, and I'm hoping creates a little bit more volume for the game, which would be good for the Texans as well. Brock Purdy, I think, is a pretty good play. You mentioned him as going up against this Tennessee team. Ward has not been good, and I think will probably be bad here, but he's shown like from time to time some flashes, and the 49ers defense has not been, it's honestly been better over the last couple weeks than I would have thought, but it's not what it was since they lost Fred Warner and Bosa and stuff. So there's a chance that Ward could push back enough to make this game kind of fun. I like Josh Allen and I like Drake May here. I think Burrow and Lamar are both in play. And then you could, Stafford is certainly in play against the Lions. I think he's a very strong play. So those would be kind of the top line guys, I think. You could also do Darnold. It's a little thinner, but viable.
Davis, your thoughts at quarterback?
I mean, I really like Purdy. On top of that, my sense is that Lamar is like light years better of a play than Burrow if the ownership is the same, and that right now, I mean, I guess let me double check my sheet. The last time I looked, Stafford was projected to be the most owned quarterback. Let me see if that's still true, because I said a bad
pretty flat, right?
I said a bad ownership last time we did it. I really like Goff because the Goff stuff is just as concentrated as the Ram stuff, but less expensive. Like the combo salary of Goff, St. Brown, and JMO is less than the combined salary of Puka, Stafford, and Adams. If you wanted to play that game to go like mega nuclear, right? So I really like the Goff stuff, and there's like if you use Opto stuff, you're gonna get a lot of guys I don't consider good plays. Like you're gonna get a lot of Stroud, you're gonna get a lot of Mariota. I am to some degree taking those decisions out of the hand of the computer this week, and I'm saying I really only want to play the quarterbacks in the super high total games and Trevor Lawrence. I am such a Trevor Lawrence apologist these days.
I was going to ask about Trevor Lawrence because I think he's an okay play too. It's just like, so I did a little.
He's running a little bit which is kind of nice. And the stacking options, like the salary stacking options, Lawrence, Myers, Strange is like less expensive than Stafford, Puka straight up.
Honestly, I kind of like Brian Thomas this week. If you're doing Lawrence
You're
stuff,
such a slappy.
the reason, well, I like to think this is a no ball take, because like looking at, I did a little deep dive into Lawrence, right? It's like, what is this dude's deal? Why is this guy so frustrating? His CPOE, his entire career has been between 0 and -5%. He's at -5% this year. His completion percentage has been between 60 and 66%. He's at 60% this year. So it's kind of like the low end of the Trevor Lawrence experience that way. But last week he had his most efficient game of the season. And yet he had a -2% CPOE and a 57% completion percentage. It's like, how is he doing this again? He had some really nice throws down the sideline, 25 plus yards downfield. And they were all on first reads. And you look at the Jets, like they protect the middle of the field well, and they have a decent success rate against the pass, but they allow a lot of explosives, and they're terrible against first reads. So like they're not taking anything away. I think he might have opportunities to do this kind of high variance type of football that is Brian Thomas driven now. I mean, Brian Thomas has kind of moved into this deep threat role. But you can attack the Jets deep and, outside the numbers. So it's going to be he is kind of very much like more of a larger field GPP play type of thing. But I'd like him with Thomas if you're doing that rather than like playing. You're going to play this with volume with Jacoby Myers. Like the Jets aren't pushing back. You need this to happen quickly. There need to be big plays here.
I think Jacoby just does both, brother. Jacoby,
I don't think he does both.
Jacoby's been awesome on the Jaguars.
Oh
There's just no debate. There's no debating it. The results have been great.
Tell me you're on projections meetings without telling me you're on projections meetings.
He's getting the Travis Hunter stuff.
Let me throw out a quarterback, Jackson Dart. What is he's like 5,000? Playing the Commanders defense. 5,600. Mariota's 5,000. But any interest in Jackson Dart? I think he's projecting as one of the best quarterbacks for dollar, but it's not a great game.
So John, let me toss this back to you. If I told you he could only project for 2 rushing attempts, what does that do to your interest in playing him?
Do you think they're like limiting his rushing? I mean, it was one game, right?
Who's limiting him?
Back.
Are they chaining him to the bench? This dude's nuts. Yeah. You can't limit this guy.
I mean, he only had 4 rush attempts against the Patriots, and despite getting blown out, they were still not positive PROE. Like basically the read I get is Kafka's kind of just waving the flag on the season.
But he is very, very conservative. It is interesting, right? Because we talked about this when he took over, that he was like already involved. Was even calling the plays for a minute, but there has been a huge change in the offensive philosophy under Kafka that compared to Daboll. They're a much, much more conservative.
Pace is down, PROE's down. It's just
like way, way down. I mean, they've had against the Patriots. Okay, so you had Jameis Winston under center. And so, you're run heavy, but then you get the Patriots and you're losing, and they had a -15% pass rate over expected. They had a 73% expected pass rate, which is super high, and they passed 58% of the time. Those are like 2 completely different games. They were living in a game that they weren't actually in. They were separated from reality. They had a -13% mark on 1st and 10. So that's frustrating and concerning when you think about this game environment, because this game environment should be fun. Like this should be like if we had Daboll here, I would actually really like this game environment because the Commanders defense is so bad.
I think I'm a bigger Jackson Dart fan than you guys. So he had 4 rushing attempts.
I'm a Dart fan. I'm not a Kafka.
No, I'm a huge Dart fan. He's my most drafted guy in best ball.
I would say that they have, like, if they're waving the white flag on the season, they have every reason to like hand the reins over to their rookie quarterback and let him do whatever he wants.
Except whatever he wants is to get like blasted by defenders until he's hurt. Like, I kind of get it where they're like, we just need. I can't have. If you're Kafka, right, you're not getting the head coaching job, but you're trying to get another like OC job somewhere, and then maybe eventually get a head coaching job. You can't get Dart. Dart can't get hurt under your watch. Yeah, I think that's where he's at.
Yeah. All right, let's Let's move on to the running backs.
Are you playing this game? I don't want to shut down this take.
No, I think I'll play this game. It's not a great game environment. I think he might be the highest owned quarterback. I've seen ownership projections put him as the highest owned quarterback, and that he projects as the best quarterback point per dollar. I thought I was going to be under the field by not having him as one of my highest owned quarterbacks, but I'll definitely be playing him. I think he's even potentially in single entry. I think you can play a Jackson Dart, like Wan'Dale Robinson, or Jackson Dart, like Theo Johnson or something, and then just stack up another expensive game. And you're just hoping that that Wan'Dale Robinson gets a touchdown, Jackson Dart rushes in a touchdown, and that then you've game stacked another game. So I don't necessarily think I'm going to be doing full Commanders Giants game stacks, but I do think he projects well for the price.
I don't mind Mariota too. The Giants defense is so bad. They're bad against the pass as well as the run, and teams have been pass heavy against them, even though the run defense is the worst in the league. So, and Mariota, I was looking at his profile. I mean, he's attempting deep passes at a really high rate. I think him to McLaurin is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And they're not. The Giants' defense is terrible. Actually, we'll move on to the running backs. I think
both defenses are terrible in this game. It should be a good game environment.
The Giants are actually favored. Giants are favored, I think, by 2.5 at home. 46.5 point total. So yeah, it is a decent game environment actually. Now that I look at it, it's 9 points lower than the Rams and Lions, but with much cheaper players. So, and I think you can maybe take a look, or we should be paying attention to the Commanders' running back situation, because Chris Rodriguez could miss this game. It's a bad Giants rushing defense.
Did we get the report today? Probably not yet. He was limited yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
I was assuming he was going, but God, the best ball bags. That would be fun. Be fun if we finally got Bill in week 15.
Nothing on him today. Yeah.
So let's move on to the running backs. Davis, we'll start with you. Just in terms of the DraftKings and FanDuel slate, what do you think of the running back position this week?
I mean, you better hope you pick right between Gibbs and CMC, because one of them's getting 35, and if you don't have them, you're not going to win. Gibbs in the better game environment, but with he's the most efficient player in the NFL, also getting 25 touches a game, also being used as a wide receiver, also a terrible spot for David Montgomery to get his usage, bad all around. The McCaffrey, you've got, well, surely Kyle Shanahan will ease off of him as a bazillion point favorite, and then Kyle Shanahan just never eases off of him and just gives him touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Then after that, you've got this group of two guys that you also have to decide right against, Barkley and Henry, where they both project really well. They're good points per dollar plays or whatever, but they're also both cooked, but they're in good matchups to score points, even if they are cooked. So you kind of have to decide which one of them is less cooked. And then your third decision point is, okay, do I just eat the chalk with Woody Marks, who is maybe the worst interior runner I've ever seen? I'd have to think really hard to see if there's anyone who's ever been worse than him. Yeah. Or RJ Harvey, who finally had a 20-touch game, 7 targets, 51% of the routes, getting out, has not given up a touch inside the 5 since Dobbins went out, but has a difficult matchup at home against
70% success rate last week. Yeah. Maybe the light might be going on with him.
Yeah.
It was on a decent amount of carries too. 17, I think.
I'll just note on the CMC versus Gibbs thing, McCaffrey's minus 300 for a touchdown this week, which is the best on the slate. Jahmyr Gibbs is not even the best in the Rams-Lions game. That's actually because Gibbs is minus 180. Devontae Adams is minus 185 for a touchdown.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about this game where I know we're saying it's a great game environment. Is it definitely a great game environment? We have a Rams defense that's really good, and a Lions offensive line that has not been nearly as good as we're used to. They rank 30th in pass block win rate, and you've got the Lions. You
gotta just trust Dan. That's really what it is.
I trust Dan.
Trust Dan.
I trust Dan. I don't trust him as much as Ben Johnson. I don't think he's got new cool answers. I think he's going to do smart stuff, but I don't think he's going to blow my mind with some new crazy play design. And it's not really up to Dan. It's up to Goff. The Lions, they're the third best team from a clean pocket, passing the ball, 25th most efficient team under pressure. And Rams are going to get pressure here. They get pressure without blitzing as well. The 24th highest blitz rate per drop back. They're 8th in quick pressure rate, 10th in pressure rate. So I think there's some downside to the Lions offense here, which I think is just worth considering when you're looking at the rest of the slate, because we talked about, like, there are some other high total games in this game. I'm not sure, like, I can see it both ways. Like, I can see feeling by the second quarter, like, well, if you didn't play Gibbs, you're dead. Like, this dude's just smashing. But I could also be like, oh, it's one of those Goff games, like when he absolutely sucked against the Eagles, right? Or he just didn't have it against the Bucks. Right?
Well, that's just you run that risk with Goff against anyone. Goff can just show
especially running it with good pass rushes. He's bad under pressure.
I wonder, John, I'm curious your thought on this too. Like, I wonder if that's just like, that's none of my business if Jared Goff shows up. Like, either he does or he doesn't. But
it is your business. It's literally what you're trying to predict.
But from a ceiling perspective, no one is close to Lions stacks for the combination of price and game total. Like, not close.
They have a 24.5 implied team total. This is not some, like, this is not a 30.2, you know. I don't know.
My basic take, so, like, I think Jahmyr Gibbs could obviously break the slate. So, like, I think he's the second 100%. Best running back on the slate. I like McCaffrey better. I think there's just so many more ways for McCaffrey to get there. They're playing Tennessee rather than Jahmyr Gibbs playing the Rams. Like, the Rams could shut down the Lions at home. I think if I'm, like, looking at this game, I think the guy I really like is Puka Nacua. He's super expensive. But, like, and then I do like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, I'd go to the Lions passing game, but the Rams give up a lot of receptions, but not a lot of points. So I don't necessarily want Goff. I want, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And, like, I think Jameson Williams, also a guy that can break a slate, and he's not that expensive. But, like, I'm going to keep Jameson Williams, I think, mostly on, like, Jared Goff rosters, whereas, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown could put up a lot of receptions against the Rams and, like, maybe gets a touchdown. Like, I think the Lions will score. It's just, like, the Rams might not, like, give up, like, 40 points, right? They might give up 21 or 24, like the implied.
What if Jared Goff just has the Jacoby Brissett game where they get down by a ton and he throws 55 times?
I think that's plausible. I think I like playing it from
maybe even
the Rams side, though.
Jahmyr Gibbs had 10 receptions in week 1 against the Packers. Like, if you port that over to an indoor game, I don't think things get scary.
I mean, look, I'm not trying to fade Gibbs, but I just am saying, like, this game environment is not, like, as clean as some. You'd think, like, oh man, like, this entire slate's about, like, how do I get pieces of this 55-point game? And it's like, there's definitely some really, really strong plays here, but they're expensive for the most part. And you could, I think, kind of build game stacks around other games and then sprinkle in stuff from here too. The Rams side is, I think, a little bit more interesting to me because you have
so expensive.
One, the Rams offense is better. The Lions defense is significantly worse. And then you also have the Lions dealing with these injuries now. They just lost Brian Branch. So their secondary is vulnerable in a way that I think, like, one of the ways this game hits its total is that the Rams score early. And you kind of are in this situation where, like, Rams score again. Like, is this game over? Nope. The Lions come down and you know, manage to punch the ball in the end zone. And then we get the Rams keeping the starters out there. But I could see the Rams front running, like, the entire way here. And I don't know if Kirby Joseph will be back. He was DNP, yes, limited DNP. So, but if he's not, they're down both their starting safeties, and they have pretty poor cornerback play. So they've got their 109 qualifying cornerbacks. They've got DJ Reed ranking 100th and Amik Robinson ranking 105th in yards allowed per coverage snap. Both were in full-time roles against the Cowboys. So I think Stafford could cook here.
Yeah. I think, like, Stafford might be one of my favorite quarterbacks. I don't think he's necessarily going to be that owned. But I think, like,
probably no quarterback will be that owned, right?
Yeah, I think it is going to be pretty spread out. We have, like, 26 quarterbacks, you know, which we haven't had for a while. But I think that one of my favorite stack, right, is, like, Stafford and Puka. I think that's the least likely to fail.
It's just so, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position. Pat, we'll start with you. We're kind of there already. But do you like the wide? You like Puka? Do you like Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or, you know, what are the cheaper wide receivers that you're looking at?
No, I do really like Puka, and I think if you're playing this as Rams beat the Lions, which is what I think will happen, the Rams have been passing to score points this year, and then they've been kind of salting away the games with the run. They've been a pass first team. They have a 4% pass rate over expected. That's behind only the Chiefs at 6% and the Cardinals at 5%. And they have a 4% pass rate over expected on 1st and 10 behind only the Colts, Cardinals, and Bengals. So this team is tilted to the pass. They understand kind of where the strength of the team is. The issue is that they have a 50%, they have a 55% expected pass rate, which is the lowest in the league. So to me, like, what is most appealing about this game is the idea that the Rams get pushed, and they've been playing in a style that says there's more passing volume here than we've really gotten to see so far. So Puka is a really strong play. I think this is actually a spot where he could rack up a ton of catches, which we know he can do, but in a way where it's like, oh my God, like he's unstoppable type of thing, because they're actually passing more than we've become accustomed to. But Devontae Adams is a really strong play too, because you get the touchdown equity. Jamar Chase, he was a cover boy this week for the walkthrough, and I think just a really strong play. Jackson Smith and Jigba. So like all these expensive receivers are awesome plays this week.
Like every good play is like $7,000 or more, and there's like no like actual punt wide receivers, which is kind of tough.
Yeah. I do think Amon-Ra is a good play. Is kind of a bet, John, what you're saying of like them just giving up a lot of receptions. Nico Collins, I've shouted out. I like him kind of single stacked with Stroud. Wandale. Michael Wilson, we gotta, he's friggin' unstoppable apparently.
Actually, can you guys each give your opinion on Michael Wilson? Like, this is like a unstoppable force meets an immovable object situation in which Marvin Harrison Jr. has been ruled out. Jacoby has gotten 19.5 fantasy points in 8 games in a row. He has set the NFL record for completions in a game and a 25-point loss. Like, what happens with the Cardinals offense against this defense?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I probably don't want to go there. Like, I'm not going to go there for anything. I think I think you've probably made money this season not playing players against Houston.
Yeah. Yeah, Rich Rebar, we have a podcast, and he's been talking about for weeks now on that pod about how people are probably like a little bit too comfortable with these types of garbage time offenses, and eventually like the music stops. And this would just be like such an obvious spot for it to stop. What I'm annoyed about is people aren't playing Michael Wilson.
The garbage time offense, though, is the thing. This is not like Blake Bortles garbage time. This is like setting records for fourth quarter completions of all time levels.
I know. But at some point, like, these teams flop because they're not good. Like, this is a bad team.
Without
it's a bad team against an awesome defense. That's generally going to get you in trouble. I know they've had just an incredible run here, but I don't know. Wilson is, if he's been chalk and been smashing, and if he's not going to be chalky this week, which it doesn't look like he will be, I think we at least want to consider it. I love that now it's like this absolute smash receiver is now contrarian play because the matchup's hard enough.
I'll say I'd rather just play Zay Flowers. I think like Zay Flowers is 6,200. Because like Michael Wilson's also 1,000 more than he was last week. And like $1,000 on DraftKings is a big difference.
Yeah.
So I could play like a cheaper Zay Flowers, or I could find $100 and play like Nico Collins. I'd much rather do one of those two things, I think, than play Michael Wilson.
Yeah. And it is tough in terms of the punt plays. Like, is the best punt play Mitchell Tinsley? Is he the best guy?
It's Tinsley, and then there's no one who's even close. Tinsley is like a standard deviation better than everyone else. And then you got to get into like the 4,000s. Like, it's Adonai Mitchell.
I think Adonai Mitchell's a scary
Jaden Reed, Io Manor. It's like a bunch of
Io Manor. What? We're not playing Io Manor.
I'm just looking at my projection sheet.
If I would play Jaden Higgins over. He's a little more expensive. He's 4,200, but I think he's an okay punt play. You could even talk me into like a Cooper Kupp or something.
Yeah, I think
That's it,
Cooper
Chris.
Kupp is actually underpriced, but I think that I think the Emmanuel Wilson news is actually somewhat important because like you're either playing like $2,000-$3,000 tight ends, and or you're playing Emmanuel Wilson if Jacobs is out, or like Mitchell Tinsley is going to see a ton of ownership this week.
It's crazy, like how DraftKings just never lowers. Like Troy Franklin's still 5,200. Like he should be like
Pat Bryant's out, dude. Send it.
Yeah, but I can't send. I'm not paying 5,200 for Franklin, even with Brian out.
I think the thing a lot of people are going to do is this is always happens on DraftKings because they never lower people's salaries. What always ends up happening at the end of the season is double tight end lineups become much more prevalent because they have a different threshold for how they do tight end salaries. So like a wide receiver who averages 8 points per game is 4.9K. A tight end who averages 8 points per game is 4K.
Yeah. So like for 3,200, you can get Mitchell Tinsley, or you can get like AJ Barner, Colby Parkinson, Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I actually think Tinsley's like probably a totally cromulent play.
But he's not. So his route participation was like 65% or whatever against the Ravens, and that's probably what AJ Barner's. AJ Barner will have more than that probably because Arroyo's probably out. So
he's gonna have more total volume though. The Bengals will pass way more.
Bengals will pass more. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was at 62% route participation against the Ravens 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So we're getting into the tight ends. Davis, we'll just hand it off to you for any tight end plays. We're talking about AJ Barner. Do you like him at 3,200? Are you spending up for Trey McBride? Your thoughts on
not McBride. I mean, I think like the really interesting thing is if you use any projection stuff this week, you're going to get Fannin. I just don't know how I feel about a Shadur tight end in negative 11 degree Fahrenheit weather at Soldier Field. Like that feels like very fragile chalk to me. And like Andrews is, I think, less expensive. He's 3,800 against, I don't remember the exact Hayden stat. I believe the Hayden stat is if you just added up all Bengals tight ends who face the Bengals yards per game, it would be the 6th most receiving yards per game of any player in the NFL. Dawson Knox and Kincaid combined for like 27 PPR points last week. It's comical how bad it is. So I think Andrews over Fannin.
So Andrews 3,900, but I think limited in practice yesterday. So because we might have Isaiah Likely with no Mark Andrews as well.
He would be Isaiah Likely would be a legitimate jam at 3,400 if Andrews
he would be.
Yeah.
Against the Bengals. Look, I mean, Fannin. What Davis isn't accounting for is that when it gets cold out, you don't have as good a footing. But if your toes point out, you actually have a little bit more.
Well, I'm not worried about our duck-footed king. I think our duck-footed king has already clearly proven himself. I'm worried about Shadur's ability to deliver him the ball. Like, isn't Shadur going to wear 2 gloves this week? Can't you just see it? He's going to hold the wrist up, but he's going to have gloves on.
Well, honestly, like Shadur, I'm less worried about him than the offensive line. So they've had DeJuan Jones on injured reserve for a while. They lost their center to a ruptured Achilles last week. Right guard Wyatt Teller has not practiced with a calf injury. Left guard Joel Bitonio not practiced with a knee injury, and then Jack Conklin has been dealing with a concussion, has not practiced this week. That's 5 guys. That's the entire offensive line. The entire starting offensive line for the Browns is likely to be out this week. Like now, they've all been so bad, but I think Bitonio has been the only good player on the line. But 4 of the 5 have just been like horrible. That like replacing them doesn't really matter. But I don't know. When you replace an entire offensive line, that seems like potential disaster stuff. So that's my concern. Like I want to believe in Fannin, and I've got the best ball back, so I'll be cheering for Fannin. But it makes me pretty nervous about investing in the Browns offense at all this week, where the floor is just non-existent, even against the Bears.
The floor is they don't score a point.
Yeah,
they literally could get shut out with how bad this offensive line situation is. It's in play. Theo Johnson is someone that like I've never really been that into, but I think he's worth mentioning in this really, really bad matchup and really bad defense. I mean, and even if they're run heavy, the tight end off play action could be could be kind of interesting. 3,500. That's sort of maybe a way to like middle it, where you're like, I want to bet against this bad Commanders defense. I don't trust them to pass a ton, so I'm not playing dart. But maybe Johnson gets there. Kittle could go off. Kittle could smash this week.
Kittle, I really like Kittle on non-Purdy, non-CMC teams because I like if Kittle,
why non-Purdy?
Because with Purdy is fine or whatever, but I prefer Purdy with Jennings.
Okay.
Kittle, he's such a touchdown monger, that like he definitely kills CMC teams. Like if it's a Kittle week,
yeah. But he helps Purdy teams.
He helps Purdy in the sense like trying to think, because with Purdy you want him to find a way to get the bonus. I don't know. He's fine.
The way he gets the bonus is Kittle catches the ball across the middle and takes it 40 yards to the house.
Yeah,
that seems good. I don't know. Kittle, this Tennessee defense stinks, and 49ers are gonna score a lot of points. So Purdy and Kittle.
I'll say I think Kittle's the only tight end on the week that really stands out to me that I'd want to play without necessarily his quarterback. That everybody else is just like Kittle's. I think underpriced 5,400. Like that's a pretty good price tag on him, almost. And maybe the exception to that is like I'd play some like $3,200 guy, like maybe AJ Barner or whoever pops up in the $3,200 range. Maybe as a flex or something if I'm need to spend a lot of money without Emmanuel Wilson.
I'm also going to keep shouting out Brenton Strange until it hits, because this dude last week, he had 70% route participation, a 26% targets per route run, which is the second highest of the season. He had a 22% first read target rate, which is highest mark of the year. He didn't convert on those targets, just 1.17 yards per route run. So we've kind of he's been efficient at times and not gotten as many targets as you'd like to see. And then last week he got a ton of targets, didn't convert. But his profile for the year still looks really strong. 1.84 yards per route run. He's pretty solid in open scores. Targets per route run's 19%, which is 74th percentile tight end. Like there's some value here for Brenton Strange, and the Jets defense is bad. We talked about liking Lawrence in this spot. So I think if you're doing anything with Lawrence, Strange, at 4,200 makes a lot of sense. And, he's someone I'd be willing to consider playing solo as well. AJ Barner, especially if Arroyo's out at 3,200, is pretty strong play. Dalton Schultz, I think, is worth considering. Yeah. He was up, I think, 89% route participation last week. Hunter Henry, 4,400. He's on a nice little run here. I do like the Patriots to score points this week. I think that game will be kind of fun. I don't know. Because it's Patriots Bills and stuff, are people kind of under? I think that game could be. These are like two of the best quarterbacks in the league playing each other. Like they talk about a game where we could have opposing offenses pushing each other. There could be fireworks in that game. So I'm excited.
I guess also from that game, you've got Hunter Henry, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. So it's some tight ends to consider.
Yeah, Kincaid. I don't think Knox's route participation was way down. I know he had an awesome game, but to me, Kincaid would be the clear guy there, and I think he's a good play too.
All right. That'll just about do it. Any final closing thoughts on the week? Any overarching strategy points?
One more tight end. Sorry. We mentioned in passing, but Colby Parkinson was up to 71% route participation last week. He had previously peaked at 53%. And we've seen value in the tight end position with the Rams all year, but no one has been running enough routes to take advantage. He has a 25% targets per route run this year. That leads all tight ends. He has 1.77 yards per route run, 88th percentile at tight end. I don't think he's probably back at 50% route participation again this week. But if you told me for sure that he was at 70% in this matchup, he would be just an absolute smash here. If you give me a starting tight end on the Rams, the way they're using tight ends at 3,200, you got to kind of take a little small leap of faith. But I think Parkinson's a pretty fun play.
I'll add. I think it's a good week to kind of overstack or stack the high total games, which sounds pretty simplistic, but I think you gotta, even if you're not using a quarterback from that game, you're using a Jackson Dart or a Mariota or somebody cheap, even a Shedeur Sanders with Harold Fannin. I think you build in a game stack of at least one of these, high total games. So basically pairing Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka, or Zay Flowers and Jamar Chase, or Jamar Chase and Derrick Henry. Like maybe a good week for mini stacks, I guess.
We're not winning tournaments with 207 points this week, I would say.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a big 13 game slate. So, but that'll do it for this week. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, see you at the top of the leaderboards. Good luck to everybody's best ball advancing teams, and we will catch everybody next week.